Hi, my name is Erik Morgan, and I'm getting with you here today from Organic Approach in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And we're kind of tasked with a question that was proposed to us, what to look for in a high nitrogen organic fertilizer. Um, it's kind of an interesting topic because in organic, uh, really theoretically speaking, the objective is to get away from high nitrogen products. But sometimes they can be helpful in a niche situation, but you really don't want to make a habit of that. And it also depends on what kind of crop you're going after, because if you're going after what is traditionally, quote unquote, a heavy feeder corn, or say tomatoes that need a heavy shot of nitrogen at a certain stage of growth. And of course, this is if you are conventionally minded, then you're going to be looking for that higher amount of nitrogen at a specific stage of growth in that particular crop. I would, of course, argue that that does not necessarily have to apply in those cases, but we can explore that conversation. So, what are you looking for in a high nitrogen organic fertilizer? Um, Most of the time, if it's a certified organic, right? And that's a whole nother topic, but we have to make that assumption so that we don't go down too far of a rabbit hole here. But let's assume that we're talking about a truly certified organic fertilizer. If you want that, you're probably going to have to get a source that has some Chilean or Chilean nitrate, which is a otherwise known as a natural nitrate of soda, or sodium nitrate. Notice I'm using the word nitrate, so that's got the ability or the potential to leach if it's not handled properly. And it also has the ability to volatilize. It is a naturally mined substance, so it is completely natural. And you are allowed to use it in certified organic growing. Some of the quote unquote certifiers or local certifiers, et cetera, they like to limit the amount of that product that you rely on in the course of a growing season. But at this current juncture, there is no limit because it technically that law or that regulation actually sunsetted, if you will. So we don't know if or when that will come back, but it is an important tool. Having a soluble, organically certifiable form of nitrogen is an important tool to growers, period. End of statement. There are ways to handle that product and to stabilize it. And one way is to use a soluble humate, where you can actually use that very complex carbon soluble humate to carbon sequester that nitrate and turn that nitrate into an otherwise stable form of organic nitrogen. Still highly bioavailable, but stabilized as compared to the original sodium nitrate that it was. Um, so again, an important tool in the ag industry, the turf industry, the ornamental industry, whatever plant growing industry you're in, definitely a potentially important tool to you as a grower. Um, but I want to also argue that if you're looking for a higher nitrogen certified organic fertilizer and you're trying to stay away from the volatility of, say, a sodium nitrate like Chilean or Chilean nitrate, um, you might want to look at high value protein sources, because proteinaceous compounds, when biologically ingested and digested and passed through, become their own forms of nitrogen. So I could get into the whole reason why, which if you have a high protein diet in your own body and you go get a CBC panel and your BUN, your BUN or your blood urea nitrogen test comes back with your uh, an elevation in the bun, your blood urea nitrogen is up. And the reason it's up is because you've been ingesting a lot of highly assimilable protein. So you're like jacking up your own blood nitrogen levels. So we know that protein converts to nitrogen. Now, the trick is to not fall into the proverbial trap of throw one ingredient at something and think that you're providing nitrogen and you're growing your crop and you're getting this big vegetative plant. So, I urge you to constantly try to balance your, your inputs going in, because the more of a diverse input source you have, the more strength of diversity you're going to get out of that crop, whatever that crop may be. Not only that, but the more food you put on the table and the more well chosen, intelligently chosen, commonsensically chosen food, that food meaning for microbes, that you put on the proverbial buffet table, um, the more of a consortium, a beneficial consortium of microbes you will invite to that table or into the soil or onto the plant's leaf surface or stem surfaces. And now they can act as protectors or gatekeepers, and maybe help to prevent an attack from an insect or a disease pathogen. So when you're looking for, we'll get back to the high nitrogen, when you're looking for a high nitrogen organic fertilizer, you can go to things like Chilean or Chilean nitrate, however you like to pronounce it, and you can stabilize those products with soluble humate. We have a product that does just that. It's well, we have a couple products actually, on a granular slow release type form. We have 1005 Sequest. And it's called 1005 Sequest because we want you to understand that what we're doing is we're using soluble humate to sequester the volatile nitrate that's in that product. Okay. So we're trying to give you a high end product for those of you that need it, but one that has been sequestered by a high dose of soluble humate powder, which basically nobody in the industry does but us. And then we also have liquid concentrates that they may not sound high to you, but they're actually high, like a 503 or a 500, where we've done exactly the same thing. We formulated with Chilean nitrate or Chilean nitrate using a very special form of humate that is for the sole purpose of sequestering nitrates in an aqueous solution. So we have those products, um, and they are available. Just use them judiciously, because the ultimate goal is to get that high biodiversity, the strength of biological diversity. And for that, we need to throw a lot of different biological food sources. And when we do that, generally we bring the nitrogen down and we bring the other nutrient levels up, and we have a lot of diverse nutrient types so that we can feed a lot of diverse microbes instead of just focusing on nitrogen. Okay. So when you want a high nitrogen, you should have a purpose for it. Use it selectively, not get attached to it, because you will actually preclude all of that biological strength by focusing just on your nitrogen. One other comment, you can kind of straddle somewhere in the middle if you would like. We have, and I'm speaking of our own products, you can go look elsewhere as you see fit, but we have a product called N Trust. So it's a capital N hyphen trust. So N for nitrogen hyphen trust. So the point of that terminology is to say that it's a 904 analysis, and it is, as opposed to the 1005 Sequest, which is more soluble, the Entrust 904 is actually very insoluble. And so it really relies on a biological ingestion and digestion and breakdown and making it available. So when you do that, here you are now, instead of relying on a nitrogen release just by water alone and a little bit of microbial activity, over here with the 904, we are relying on a microbial processing. See, there we go. We're starting that engine of feeding microbes, building microbes, starting to rely more on our naturally occurring microbes. And then as you go down the scale from the 1005 to the 904, and you go down to analysis numbers on the labels that are smaller, so like a 524 or 303 or a, whatever, you are dropping down in these macronutrients of NPK 524, and you are getting more micronutrients and more trace elements, more biological foods in that formula. And we're just simply being more responsible to the soil, more responsible to the plant, more responsible to the microbial communities that are supporting our plants. So, I urge you to always think. You reach for a high nitrogen fertilizer, you have them available in the form of Chilean nitrate or very high protein sources or combinations thereof, which we also make. We make an Encourage 11-0-4. We make a all natural version and we make a certified organic version. But they combine the technologies of proteins and Chilean nitrate and that sort of thing. So, and soluble humate. So it's all doable. But I urge you to think about what really are you shooting for. And basically, that gives you an overview. So if you have more questions, keep those questions coming in. We'll do the best we can to answer them for you. Um, and I hope that this helps at least get you started in how you're thinking about what type of fertilizer do I want for what type of situation. All right. Thank you for joining us. Erik Morgan from Organic Approach. Take care.